The Houston Rockets are coming off of yet another terrible season, but after signing former Celtics head coach Ime Udoka, things could finally be changing for the better. Houston hired the 45-year-old on April 5th after Stephen Silas's contract wasn't extended at the end of the season, and for good reason. He's had multiple issues with players on his roster, and many outsiders started to question just how good of a coach he really is. Because one of the most important qualities of being a coach, especially in the NBA, is demanding and earning respect from some of the best basketball players in the world. So if you can't do that, and you have young and veteran players getting into heated altercations both on and off the floor, then it's safe to say the head coaching position may not be the best spot for you at the time being. But Coach Ime Udoka has already come in contact with the likes of Kevin Porter Jr. and Jalen Green, and he spoke about it in an interview. It's been great. I was down in Los Angeles with a lot of those guys, so we had some lunches. I went to the gym and saw Jalen Green's workout, so it was great that they want to get after it so soon. Obviously, we've been done for over a month now, so for these young guys, it's time to get back in the gym. So it would appear he is fully invested in this young team. He's even eagerly searching for a compatible coaching staff that will lead to success. And some of those candidates are from the Boston Celtics organization. And he had this to say when asked about it. It's going good. I had to wait and be patient on some things. I talked to a lot of high-level candidates. We have some commitments, and then obviously we have some of the guys I brought to Boston. And with them finishing up now, I can move along in the process and hopefully bring some of them here as well. A shakeup in the Rockets organization and coaching staff is huge. And honestly, I can't think of a better head coach for this talented young core than Udoka. He is a proven coach who led the Celtics to a championship in just his first year, while coaching two young superstars in Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum, along with the rest of that elite Boston squad. So for those reasons alone, I think getting respect from Houston's young core won't be a problem. They know he can get them to the highest level quicker than any other coach they've had. And speaking of being this invested in the team, he, along with Kevin Porter Jr. and Jabari Smith Jr., participated in a Juneteenth event together. They conducted a cleanup task for a home. His ability to bond with young players is what made him the perfect candidate for this job. I even recall Jason Tatum saying that he and Udoka had a very special relationship and that he's the best coach he's ever had. And Marcus Smart recently said this about him as well. "I'm past it, but I'm still emotional. We built a connection together outside of basketball, me and Ime. So for him to not be here was tough. But I'm just happy for him and happy he gets another opportunity to show what he can do." So yeah, I don't know exactly what he does or says to his players, but whatever it is, it works. All of his former players had amazing things to say about him, and they were ready to run through a brick wall for him. Bringing that aura to Houston could potentially be game-changing, especially with the draft coming up filled with talent, which we'll get to a little later in this video. But right now, let's take a look at the Rockets roster and break down and analyze each of the most important players' games, starting with Jalen Green. Green averaged 27 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists, while shooting 41% from the field, 78% from the free throw line, and 33% from 3. If you were to just look mainly at his scoring numbers, then you would probably assume he's having a really good start for his career. But when you look deeper, you start to see he has a lot of growing to do on the court, especially from 3. He's shot under 34% from 3 in his first 2 seasons in the NBA. And given that the Rockets were one of the worst shooting teams in basketball, he was definitely a reason why. And it's not really like he has bad shot mechanics or he's just a naturally bad shooter. The thing that hurts his percentages is his poor shot selection. At times, he sort of plays that Houston Rockets James Harden basketball style. He's in ISOs a lot and shoots a ton of contested step backs and off-balance shots. He can be a major ball stopper and forget to involve his teammates, which is something that can be fixed. He's still extremely young and has all of the time in the world to fix this. And with a no-nonsense coach like Ime Udoka, I strongly suspect the poor shots by Green will be limited. He's averaging over 7 threes per game for his career, and I totally get the high volume because the Rockets were basically just letting him shoot and get reps due to them not even having a slight chance to make the playoffs. So in all honesty, I'm not that worried about his poor shooting just yet. His biggest strength on offense is getting downhill and utilizing that elite speed and athleticism. He was actually top 3 in shots in the restricted area, which is basically finishing at the rim, finishing 55% of his shots on 5 attempts per game. So that right there is really good and a great sign for things to come if he can build on that and get stronger and attack more often. I can definitely see him being more of a Jalen Brown type of offensive player, with better handles, of course. Now, on the defensive end, I can't lie. He's horrendous. He was statistically one of the worst defenders in the league during his first 2 years in the NBA. A lot of that has to do with effort and not knowing and understanding his assignments. Largely, on effort, though. He can be a stick in the mud off the ball and provides no help defense. And on the ball, he sometimes quits too early on possessions and lacks defensive fundamentals and IQ. These are things that can be fixed if focused on. If he starts to put in more effort on the defensive end and gets motivated by his new head coach, he has the physical tools and competitive edge to be a solid defender. And that would be amazing, not only for him, but the organization moving forward. Now, let's talk about Alperen Sengun. He averaged 15 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 assists while shooting 55% from the field and 71% from the free throw line. He has star power written all over him, but there's a few things he's got to clean up for that to happen. And mainly, we're talking about his defense. His defense was, well, it was below average. He averaged under 1 block per game, so his rim protection isn't the best, and he'll never be quick enough out on the perimeter and defend out in space. So he will need to put in a lot of work defensively if he wants to get to that next level. And I'm not saying he needs to turn into Robert Williams or Rudy Gobert overnight, but he needs to do just enough defensively to not be a defensive liability. On offense, he's an emerging star at the center spot. He's a really good post scorer, a good pick and roll scorer, and an amazing passer. And I expect Ime Udoka to have Sengun playmaking out of the post a lot. So I'm very interested in how he can transform Sengun's game on both ends of the floor. He has all of the intangibles, and not to mention, he's a great rebounder too. The fact that he's just 20 years old is unbelievable, and I don't see how he's not an all-star by the time he's 23 or 24. And yes, he has that level of talent. Next, let's talk about Jabari Smith Jr. He averaged 13 points and 7 rebounds. He struggled a bit offensively and shot a horrific 30% from 3 and a decent 40% from the field. I wouldn't be too worried though, because of course, just like the entire roster, he's young. And I've seen enough of his offense to where I believe he could be a really good scorer in this league one day. And as his confidence rises, so will his play. Now, defensively, he has an even higher ceiling at the moment. He sort of reminds me of a younger Jaden Daniels. Now, of course, we know McDaniels is an incredible defender right now, but when he came into this league, he wasn't as polished or developed defensively, but he had the length, versatility, and defensive IQ to compete with anyone. The same goes for Jabari Smith Jr. He looks very comfortable defending wings and even some guards out on the perimeter. He does a great job at getting low and moving his feet while also having the length to contest just about every shot. And just like McDaniels, Jabari has some potential as a help side shot blocker. He averaged just under a block per game. And now for their point guard, Kevin Porter Jr. The 23-year-old averaged nearly 20 points while getting 5 rebounds and 5 assists and shooting 44% from the field, 78% from the line, and 36% from 3. Now, he is without a doubt the most controversial player on the team. A lot of Rockets fans have mixed emotions about him for various reasons. One of those reasons is that many claim he's a selfish or isn't a good true point guard. And here's my argument to that. He averaged 5 assists per game on the worst 3-point shooting team in the NBA. They were 30th in 3-point percentage. So let's just say they were 22nd or 23rd. KPJ would be averaging like 7 or 8 assists easily. So I strongly disagree that he isn't a true point guard. Now, he is a better shooting guard, but two things can be true at the same time. The other issue is his attitude. But with Ime Udoka running the show, I think things will get better. And as far as his defense, well, he and Jalen Green were both some of the worst in the league. But as I mentioned with Green, it has a lot to do with effort. And plus, it's hard to judge a player's defense in a losing environment like Houston's. They were well aware they weren't making the playoffs, so that alone could discourage a lot of them from trying hard on the defensive end. Overall, he's very dynamic offensively. His ability to get downhill, break down players, and create his own shots is highly impressive. The one player on the roster who did give it his all defensively is Terry Eason, the rookie from LSU. With a coach like Udoka, I see Eason becoming a very dangerous defender next season. At 6'8" and weighing over 215 pounds with a 7'2" wingspan, he has some of the best measurables for a defender in all of basketball. He can defend 4 positions at a solid level, and when he's locked in, he can give even the best scorers in the game trouble. Offensively, he's raw, but he's a solid cutter and transition runner. He pretty much just gets the easy points, but he did show potential from 3, shooting 34% on a couple of 3s per game. Now, Kenyon Martin Jr. is a hyper-athletic player who allows Houston to play with pace and transition. He was near the top 20 in points off of cuts to the rim as well. Defensively, he does need to improve, that way he can finalize his spot in the starting lineup. The NBA is getting extremely talented and versatile, and over the years, we're starting to see a lot of one-dimensional and even sometimes two-dimensional players start to fall out of the rotation. Not saying that that's going to be the case for Martin necessarily, but his improvement on defense and in the half-court on offense can really be be valuable for his teammates. And then you have players like Josh Christopher and Usman Garuba, who are pretty raw, but they both bring different skill sets. Josh has some potential as a solid bench scorer down the road, and Garuba has the potential to be a really good defensive big man with solid versatility as well. And no, I didn't forget about Jae'Sean Tate, but he's much older and probably won't be around much longer compared to the younger core. All in all, I can't wait to see how the Rockets will look next season. And with the draft coming up, they have a huge decision to make. They've got the 4th pick, and while this is a talented class, there aren't any franchise-changing players after the 3rd pick. So now, they're deciding whether or not to take a gamble on a prospect or trade away the pick for a quality young player. What would you do? Let us know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.